Welcome to Super Simple Security Principles, where you learn how to think, not just what to do. I'm Nick Jackson, here to learn along with you from my good buddy and master guardian, Makani Mason. Woo! Yeah! All right, this is episode 85. Oh my goodness, we're getting up there. Email workshop. Is this right for me? You betcha it is. If you have any email headaches, you better tune in. Makani, man, you know I'm in on this 100%.
Yeah.
So where are we going to start today? How are we going to get these people, all our listeners, all those that hear this, to get them to understand the importance of this email workshop and how, if it's right for them, really?
Yeah. Well, and obviously the starting point is, right, if you have any email complaints, right?
Yeah.
And that can range, the most common ones I hear, there's fear, afraid of phishing, clicking on the wrong thing, being hacked, being scammed. One that the kind of you mentioned is just the overwhelm of it all, just so much noise and spam, and stress. Or maybe, it doesn't bother you. Maybe you deal with the stress of it all, no big deal, but you also know you're at risk and you just want better protection.
Yeah.
Another common reason is privacy. You're tired of email providers reading your email and monetizing them.
Yeah.
So, if you're perfectly content with your email, then it's definitely not for you.
So if you love how your email system is working, you can go ahead and tune out now. But if you have any frustrations with your email, keep listening.
Yeah. And so the next thing we'll talk about is what is required on your end. But I want to say, as I introduce these, that if you're listening to these episodes along the way, I'd love to have you help shape the direction of the workshop and give feedback and help make sure it is a good fit for you and is going to solve your problems.
Yeah.
So the first, there's three things that obviously we've established. Email needs are close to universal.
Yeah.
But the thing that I think will maybe eliminate some people from wanting to participate in the workshop is the things that are required from them. Because they're going to have to make some changes.
Yeah.
It's not just a matter of, okay, I'll install a new app and everything's better. I don't have a magic wand. There's no perfect tool.
There's no magic pill you could swallow and everything will be just fine.
Yeah, it's not that way. And I mean, I know that sounds kind of obvious, but it's going to require some learning and short-term work. Now, I'm convinced. Now, I don't have thousands of people that I've done this with yet. That's what the goal of this workshop is, to gain that evidence and make it even more compelling. But I'm convinced that working this out with people, that after that learning and the transition, it will be less stress, less time invested. And it's, you're going to be happier and it's going to be worth the time you did invest short term, because email is just such a big part of our world that it doesn't take much even, to get a good return on your investment, so to speak.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So, but the first thing that's required is you've got to acknowledge and just be ready to make some changes. And one of those, to maximize. Now, I'm going to help people as much as they can with minimal changes, but honestly, for a lot of people, one of the big ones to maximize their email strategy is going to probably require a new email account for a lot of people. And I know,
Really?
I think so, simply because so many people are on Gmail.
Yeah.
And Gmail just doesn't have the tools to really eliminate spam and other things in the way that we want to. Now, there are some clients, there are apps you can add on. Like, I'm not saying that's absolute. And like I said, we'll just see how people respond, because I know that's a huge barrier for a lot of people, and I totally get that. So I'm not saying that's absolute, but yeah, it's just the email system is so broken that our options are limited.
Yeah.
So there are ways to work with existing email accounts with add-ons and things, and in the end, maybe that will end up being the more popular. I don't know. I'm very
Yeah.
curious to see how willing people are, what the value is to them. It's definitely an experiment.
Right.
The other big one, because there's really kind of two things involved in terms of, there's habits and learning and some doing, but I don't think those are going to be big asks for anybody. But there's the email account, and then you might use a different email app, the way you access, get your email. So there's the email provider, where your email account comes from, and the way you access your email. Those are the two big changes that might be big asks.
Nice.
And then the second ask is, just like I'm experimenting, it's going to be an experiment with you too, willing to experiment, because I know, and I perfected my personal exact approach and system. But I also fully recognize that that's not going to be a perfect fit for everybody. And I've identified at least 3 other approaches that I think will be able to really solve the email problems for people really well, that can meet other needs. And one of them, at least, without change your email account, may be good enough for people.
Yeah.
I haven't had, I don't have a whole team to personally experiment with all these systems over years, like I have the one that I've perfected for myself.
Right.
And
makes
so
sense.
if you don't want to do what I've done, then I totally get that. Happy to experiment, love to experiment. I would love to see some other alternate systems, but that might mean some experimenting together, and I'll help you and work it out and whatever. But yeah, does that make sense?
It makes total sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then the last one is being willing to spend some money.
Yeah.
Because again, just like with the changes and the experimenting, even if you don't want to spend any money, I will absolutely teach you some good habits, learn some things, and that will be able to improve your safety. But there is a limit to what we can do, especially about spam removal and things, if you are absolutely unwilling to spend some money.
Yeah.
Because there are just some tools that are helpful that take money. Now, this is not money, obviously, to me I'm talking about. I'm talking about money for the tools.
For us. Yeah, for the tools.
And so, and just to give you a ballpark, though, too, up front, is the minimum that I've looked at with the different tools as of this recording is about, say, $35 per year per person. Up to,
so we're not talking terrible.
Yeah, up to, depending on, one of them is up to maybe $150 around per person per year.
Okay.
And my exact approach, the one I use, as you know, is Fastmail. We've done some episodes on this, and we'll dive into this more in the workshop. But that is $60 per year for one person. Or if you do 2 people, it's down to $48 per year. Or if you have a family of 6, then it's down to $22 per person per year.
Nice.
Or if you do it for 3 years, if you pay for 3 years at a time, it gets even a little bit cheaper than that. So anyway, that just gives you kind of at least some feel for what the payment amounts look like.
Yeah.
So anyway, those are the 3 things: willing to make changes, willing to experiment, willing to spend some money. And those are where I think we're going to lose people.
Yeah.
Because they're just not willing to pay that price for the long-term benefit, I think, in some cases. But anyway, we're going to do our best to make those as accessible as possible, and as many options for not switching accounts as possible too. And I don't know. We'll just have to see how it goes with people.
Yeah.
So anyway, those are my thoughts on, if helping you figure out, is this going to be a good fit for you?
Right. Yeah.
What's your takeaway?
I was going to say, you want my thoughts?
Yeah. Yep.
Here's my thoughts. Like anything you want to improve in life, there is going to be a required amount of time and effort on your end to improve your email. So first, it's going to start with you. Second, there are going to be some changes that you'll have to make, with what you're using, whether that's email provider or add-ons or whatever you do. There will be a little bit of change in your habits that you move forward with. And then lastly, like any other security measure, there's going to be a little bit of a cost associated with it. Now that cost can be smaller, it could be a little bit bigger, but we're not talking about something that's unreasonable. And with as many phishing emails as we get, if one of our other master guardian is getting an email that's been hacked and sent, like there's some valid reasons to really take control of your email and at least spend time, effort, and energy to make sure you don't fall victim of fraud, phishing, whatever. Let's use our resources to safeguard what we've built and everything else that we have.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I'll just say, I think my takeaway is, reflecting all this, is what I really want to do is, even though I love my personal approach, I know it's not going to be perfect for everybody. I'm willing to work with people. I want to help solve as many email problems for as many people as I can, until the day I can build a new system for us. And so I'm very willing to experiment and just work with you and try to see how good can we get it within whatever parameters and your priorities are.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm committed to doing.
Love it.
Okay.
There we go. Let's get your email changed.
Yeah. Are you ready to take action and wondering where to start? Get my Bulletproof My Identity Starter Kit for free. The 7 most vital layers of protection everyone needs. I'll send you one step at a time and help you if you get stuck. Just go to bulletproofmyid.com and enter your name and email, and I will send you the first step. Again, that's bulletproofmyid.com.